Julian Meyer had never known anything but luxury. To him, economy class was an abstract concept, just a distant sea of weary travelers glimpsed briefly behind the thin blue curtain. At 32, Julian was a tech mogul who had made his first million by 26. He wore tuxedos to board flights, not for attention, but because he could. Seat 1A wasn't just his preference, it was his routine. Champagne greeted him before takeoff, his recliner transformed into a bed, and Carl, the butler, addressed him by name. Julian wasn't arrogant, just insulated. Life was sterile, sleek, and always moving fast. Until flight LX218 from Zurich to Cape Town. At the private VIP lounge, Julian lounged back with an espresso in hand, skimming stock forecasts as whispers of a slight delay drifted through. When boarding was finally announced, he was among the first to step on, adjusting his cufflinks and settling into the buttery soft leather of his first-class seat. Noise-canceling headphones? Check. Menu featuring seared duck and Belgian chocolate? Check. He was ready to detach from the world. But the universe had other plans. As the last few passengers shuffled in, the quiet hum of the cabin shifted. Whispers gave way to lingering stares and low murmurs. Something, or rather, someone was holding things up near the back of the plane. Julian glanced casually over the rim of his glass and saw her. A frail, elderly black woman was slowly making her way down the aisle. Her steps heavy and uncertain. Her skin was creased with deep lines, her frame nearly swallowed by a simple cream blouse and soft cotton skirt. A worn white head wrap covered her gray hair. Every slow step was met with the metallic click of a walker on the cabin floor. A blonde flight attendant hovered at her side, speaking softly into her ear. The woman didn't respond. Her eyes darted nervously between the seats and the exit, her lips trembling. Row 42. Right by the engine. Next to the bathroom. No room for her walker. No dignity. No chance of comfort for the 12-hour journey ahead. Julian watched, still detached, until her eyes met his. Just for a second. In that brief exchange, he saw something raw. Panic. Weakness. Defeat. She was shaking. Without a second thought, Julian stood. No dramatic gesture, no speech. Just action. He walked over to the attendant. "Switch her seat with mine," he said firmly. The attendant blinked. "Sir, you're in 1A. "I know," Julian said, already slipping off his jacket. "She can't make it back there. She'll collapse before we even leave Europe." Passengers began to whisper louder now. A businessman scoffed in disbelief. But Julian didn't care. He helped guide the woman toward the front. When they reached his seat, her new seat, she paused. Her wrinkled hand reached out, gently touching his wrist. Her eyes, once confused, now glistened with clarity and something deeper, recognition. "You're giving this for me?" Julian simply nodded. She smiled, and what happened next would change everything. She asked gently, "You're giving this up for me?" Julian shrugged, almost embarrassed. "It's just a seat." The old woman smiled softly, as if she were remembering something from long ago. "You remind me of someone." She lowered herself slowly into the plush leather of seat 1A. The flight attendant secured her walker nearby and offered her hot tea. She said nothing more, just breathed, steadier now, letting the comfort soak into her tired bones. Julian turned and walked back toward economy. The shift was immediate and jarring. Gone were the wide aisles and whisper-quiet luxury. This section was cramped and loud, the air noticeably warmer. His new seat didn't recline, and the tray table stuck slightly when he pulled it down. Still, he didn't complain. Hours passed. He glanced toward first class. The old woman, now a silhouette in the dim blue cabin lights, was asleep. Her white head wrap leaned gently against the window, hands folded peacefully on her lap. He turned back around, but something lingered. A quiet thought. What if that had been your grandmother? What if no one had cared enough to notice? When the meal cart came through, Julian declined the food. The woman next to him, a stranger with tired eyes and a kind face, reached into her purse and offered him a biscuit. "Not many people would do what you did," she said. Julian gave her a small smile. It wasn't planned. Night fell over the cabin. Somewhere a baby cried. A reading light flicked off. For the first time in years, Julian didn't feel like escaping into work or silence. He felt present. As the plane began its slow descent into Cape Town, the cabin stirred. Passengers stretched, rubbed their eyes, reached for overhead compartments. Julian stood, stretching his legs, and found himself drifting toward first class, not out of pride but something else. Curiosity. She was still there, awake now, sipping warm water, her posture regal despite her fragile frame. She saw him and smiled, a look that went deeper than politeness. "Come," she said, patting the empty seat beside her. "Let me tell you a story." Julian hesitated, then sat. She reached into a worn leather bag and carefully pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I'm not just a passenger," she said, handing it to him. Julian unfolded the paper. His eyes scanned the page. The paper was aged, the ink slightly faded, but the name at the bottom struck him like lightning. Dr. Nyota Elena. He blinked. He knew that name. He'd seen it at the Humanitarian World Awards, months ago. A legend. An African medical anthropologist and global peace negotiator. The woman who built clinics in war zones, founded women's shelters in 12 countries, and once personally brokered peace between two warring tribes in the Congo Basin. You're Dr. Elena?" Julian stammered. She nodded, smiling with sharp, knowing eyes. "I used to be. Now I'm mostly bones and memory. But I still remember good men when I meet them." Julian felt his face flush with heat. I didn't know. You weren't supposed to," she said, chuckling softly. "That's what made it real." He looked at the seat, the one he'd given up so casually. It now felt like a throne. Dr. Elena reached for his hand. Her skin was thin as paper, but her grip was steady. "Do you know why I was flying in economy?" she asked gently. Julian shook his head. "Because I give away almost everything I earn. Every dollar funds a clinic, a safe house, a school. Comfort doesn't move the world forward, son. Compassion does." And with that, everything Julian thought he knew about wealth, value, and greatness began to shift. He gave up his first-class seat without knowing who she was. What she gave him in return changed his life forever. She turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "I wasn't flying economy out of humility," she said. "I was trying to disappear for a while." Julian blinked, unsure what she meant. "I've been juggling boards, governments, speeches. The weight of it all. I just wanted to go home, quietly, not as a name or a title, just as a woman revisiting the place where it all started." She looked out the window, her eyes distant. "But my body no longer listens to my pride. I thought I could make it in that seat. I couldn't. Then you came." She turned back to him. "You gave up your comfort without knowing who I was. You didn't ask for thanks or recognition. You just acted." Julian shrugged, feeling small beneath her gaze. It just felt right. She reached into her worn leather bag and pulled out a tattered notebook. Flipping through it, she began writing something, her pen gliding slowly and precisely across the page. "Then let me offer you something," she said, her eyes locked on his. Julian tilted his head. "What kind of something?" "A gift," she replied. "One that can't be bought." She carefully tore out a single page, folded it, and handed it to him. "Give this to any of my offices," she said. "I only hand out 3 a year." Julian opened the note. His breath caught. In graceful script were the words, "Lifelong access to the Elena Global Trust. Any project. Any need. Justify the purpose. We fund the person." Beneath that was her personal contact number and official seal. He stared at it, stunned. I don't know what to say." "This card," she said gently, "is not a reward. It's a key. A doorway. If you ever grow tired of chasing numbers, use it to chase meaning." Julian felt something shift in his chest. "Thank you. I don't deserve this." "You didn't need to," she smiled. "You already earned it." When the plane touched down, she looked at him one last time. "Go ahead," she said. "I'll be slower. Besides, I like watching people carry more than they realize." Julian stepped off the jet bridge into the soft morning light, the card still in his hand. But something inside him had changed. The world didn't feel smaller and competitive anymore. It felt wide open, with possibility. A month later, Julian used the card. But not for himself. He launched a foundation to fund education for children in underserved communities. naming it after his mother, who had passed from cancer when he was just 17. The very first grant came from the Elena Global Trust. Julian never promoted it, never posted about it. It wasn't for image. It was for impact. Years later, when Dr. Nyota Elena passed peacefully in her sleep, her will included a handwritten note. It spoke of a man on flight LX-218. He gave without needing to know who I was, and in doing so, reminded me who I still am. Sometimes, a small act becomes something far greater than we imagine. And sometimes, giving up your seat puts you exactly where you were meant to be. If this story touched you, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, powerful, and unexpected tales. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing your stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching. Rever.